Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and that's right, you read the title, and as was teased in the last review video, yes, I am finally reviewing another DreamWorks animated feature film that is a spin-off, and if I'm correct, this is the second DreamWorks animated spin-off movie, because yeah, the first one, pretty sure, was the first Puss in Boots movie. Because, a spin-off movie from, spin-off movies from two big franchises of DreamWorks animation. And, not to mention, this DreamWorks animated spin-off movie is celebrating its anniversary. That's right, guys. I am finally reviewing from 2014, Penguins of Madagascar. The movie, yes. The Penguins of Madagascar movie. I gotta say, the Penguins of Madagascar movie, well, I mean, it may not be really the best animated film from DreamWorks, and coming from the Madagascar franchise, and this being, again, an animated spin-off movie, but for me, I don't think it's that bad. And rewatching it, and because, well, I knew, because I had to give it a rewatch before, well, as of now, I'm doing my review, it's quite good. It is quite good. Very fun, cute, and, and who doesn't love the Penguins of Madagascar? Because, yeah, clearly the Penguins of Madagascar are the fan favorites from the Madagascar franchise, and, seemed very fitting. Not only did they have their own show, but eventually and finally, they would get their own movie. And I'm pretty sure because when the show began, a lot of people, including me, were wondering, where's their movie? I mean, a show is okay, but where's the movie starring our favorite secret agent karate action penguins? Well, eventually, we would finally get one. And especially since, the third Madagascar film came out, and 2 years after Madagascar 3, Europe's Most Wanted, would come out, we would finally get a movie about the penguins. And just a little quick recap, because the Penguins of Madagascar, their show that was on Nickelodeon, I have some really good memories when watching the show, and it was kind of confusing at first, but later on, Tom McGrath confirmed that the Penguins of Madagascar series, it was in an entirely different universe. It was not canon to the Madagascar movies, and especially since, you had King Julian in Central Park Zoo, and so many other things, and with no sign of our four main Central Park Zoo animals, from Alex, Marty, Gloria, and Melman, no sign of them. And even when Alex did make an appearance, but it was definitely for the best that be its own thing in a different universe and not being canon to the movies, and how eventually we would get a movie on the Penguins. Yeah, and it was about time. Because I'm pretty sure, I have no doubt, and as I said, a lot of people, and I'm pretty sure, I was one of them, just wondering if we were ever going to see a movie, and we finally did. But just overall, the Penguins of Madagascar movie, what goes on in this movie from beginning to end, and with its story, and what happens to our four, beloved penguins. Yeah, I think it was pretty good. And, if the antagonist they came face-to-face with, and a bunch of other animals that they cross paths with. Just overall, the Penguins of Madagascar movie, it's a delight, fun to watch, cute. Yeah, what more do I have to say? Alright, so, as always, read the description / the story. Plucky penguins, Skipper, Kowalski, Rico, and Private, the most elite spies ever hatched, if I said that one word right, join forces with a chick undercover organization known as the North Wind. led by highly trained, handsome, and Agent Classified. Yeah, I don't think we never know his actual name in this. This special interspecies task force must stop a many detangled villain, Dr. Octavius Brine, from destroying the world. Alright, so getting into the film itself. Well, I'd like to point out that, and for those of you that know, because The Penguins of Madagascar being another one of DreamWorks animated films to be distributed by 20th Century Fox. Just thought I'd mention that, because it is true. Yeah, so the opening to this movie, I like how in this, and it was very nice that the Penguins of Madagascar movie did this. The origin and beginnings of our 4 lovable penguins. It started off with Skipper, Kowalski, and Rico. And, well, Skipper, once again, being voiced by Tom McGrath, as I just mentioned. Kowalski, once again, being voiced by Chris Miller. And Rico, in this, being voiced by Conrad Vernon. So, and Private, once again, being voiced by Christopher Knight. Well, because, yeah, all 4 of them who voiced the Penguins, because them being a part of DreamWorks, and the fact that it's nice to see that DreamWorks employees and who provide voices, who have provided voices for some of our favorite characters, for them, they get to be the main stars and whom they're voicing. You know what I mean? So that's nice to see. And by the way, because Conrad Vernon, the voice of Rico, well, because other voices that he's done in other DreamWorks animation materials, movies, well, being the voices of Gingy and, yeah, Mason, one of the chimps from Madagascar. So he voices Rico in this. I don't know, because, I mean, no hard feelings on Conrad Vernon. He's good. He's good at voicing Rico. Anybody that has provided the voice of Rico is good. But, I think we would all, remember John DiMaggio best at voicing Rico. But, again, no hard feelings on Conrad Vernon. I'd say that, from Conrad Vernon and John DiMaggio, they're really good at voicing Rico. So, yeah. So it's nice to see that finally there's a Madagascar movie where Rico talks, because he never spoke or grunted. Not really, because, in the 3 Madagascar films. No, I mean, even when, the only times that Rico made noise was whenever he would hack something. That's it, so, yeah. But anyways, so, again, it starts off with Skipper, Kowalski, and Rico, 3 tiny, cute baby penguins, and a documentary voice, talking about, say, Antarctica and penguins, and, when we first see Skipper, Kowalski, and Rico, well, they're not used, and they're not like, say, the other penguins that, in a line are walking and such. Even there's a moment where, one moment where the camera pans out and we see a couple of people recording them. The penguins have no problem with that, so. But, yeah. Skipper, Kowalski, and Rico, not enjoying what's going on. Life as a penguin, and Skipper at one point saying that he rejects nature. And at one point they happen to spot a rolling egg in the snow, because we saw the egg when it started to roll, and Skipper starts to chase after the egg, and, Kowalski and Rico join Skipper, and, the egg rolling down on this abandoned boat where leopard seals reside in the abandoned boat. And according to Kowalski, nobody has ever gotten out of that boat, that wrecked ship / abandoned ship, So they are taking risks going after the egg, and in the end, because they managed to escape from the leopard seals without getting, without them, from them and the egg getting gobbled by the leopard seals, and they fire a torpedo, hook and such, and they escape the boat, and the boat ends up exploding. So now, all 4 of them, including the egg, all 3 including the egg, I should say, They are now disembarking Antarctica, and the egg finally hatches, and, well, if you figured it out already, and for the first time watching this movie, well, whom was in that egg? It's Private. Little cute baby Private. Yeah. And did I forget to mention that Christopher Knight's the voice of Private? We would also know him best as the voice of the Three Blind Mice. If you could not identify him because, well, Private and the Three Blind Mice, they're all British. So, yeah. Oh, and yeah, because Christopher Knight's, he also did the voice of Thelonious. You know, Lord Farquaad's right henchman, and the way he spoke, a, dopey voice. 3, pick number 3. It's 2 fingers he holds up. 3, pick number 3, my lord. It would have been so great if we got more of Thelonious, if he had joined the fairy tale gang. But, it's how they did the Shrek movies, but anyways. But I know that probably some of you probably would feel the same way too. But anyways, even I'm kind of in on it. Like, yeah, you know what? We should have gotten more of Thelonious. Yeah, he could have been helpful in some certain situations. But anyways, the Three Blind Mice stuck around. Why couldn't he? I'm just saying. But anyways, getting back to the movie. So for the 4 penguins, and, well, Private's wondering, like, if they're his family. And Kowalski, the comment he made, because, Skipper, that's not what he wanted Kowalski to say. But just overall, Private is now a part of their family, like brothers and such, and them being a team. And who knows what their future awaits for them. And fast forward 10 years later, after Private was born and hatched from the egg, well, the penguins, and after the 3 Madagascar films, still a part of the circus, as well as the 4 main Central Park Zoo animals, and it's nice that we do get a quick cameo. Just their shadows. Alex, Marty, Gloria, and Melman. However, it's nice that we do get, we once again hear just a little bit of Move It, Move It, but, in Madagascar 3, a bit of circus to it. That circus, yeah, that whole thing. And even, I think, Private's, wearing that clown afro hair, so... Anyways, and, well, the penguins are lighting up a cannon, and, because they're disembarking from the circus. Well, that's because, today is Private's birthday. 10 years old, Private has turned, and, in celebration of his birthday, they, take him to a United States bank. Are they going to rob a bank? Like, what are they doing? Because, knowing the penguins and whatever they're up to sometimes. But, yeah, so them making their way and flying to a United States bank, and them getting through security, knocking them out with sleeping gas, and, as they make their way into the building. Well, it's not the gold that they're after. They go through the vault, and they basically make their way to a vending machine. Just that. That's, going into that bank, and through all that, and just through a vault of money and gold, they just came for what's in a vending machine. Cheesy dippies. I think that the last word, that's how it is properly said. But yeah, this movie's version of cheese puffs or something, So that's what they came for. And Private putting in a quarter and such, and getting his very own bag. However, at one point, things escalate when the vending machine comes to life, technically. Octopus tentacles pop out, and they grab our 4 main penguins, and thus the vending machine is taken away by a helicopter, and they travel to Venice. Yeah, I think Venice, that's right. If I am correctly saying it. Again, you know me sometimes. So they've been captured by whomever it is that's taken them to Venice, and in a submarine. Well, clue number 1, we saw octopus tentacles. So clearly, and as we can tell, octopuses, yeah, for one thing. And thus, we get the reveal of the doctor, Dr. Octavius. And, I mean, they don't know who it is, and they are puzzled by what's going on. And when they arrived, they ate all of those cheesy dipples, like, golly. And, by that point, they're sick to their stomachs. I think except for Rico. And there was one moment also where Private, he thought he can do the same thing like Rico does, swallow random things. So Private, thinking that he can do the same thing as Rico. I don't want to get my penguins, the names mixed up, just a heads up. And even if I do, Private swallowing a paper clip, but yeah, only Rico can do that. So, and that's another thing. Throughout this film, Private kind of being left out, and when trying to tell Skipper that he is ready to do like what they do, but most of the time, they have Private be the bait and distraction because of his cuteness. So, yeah, I mean, he's good at it, but with Private, because, you can see that he really thinks he's got this time. And even after 10 years, and even after the first 3 Madagascar films, yeah, by that point, but anyways. So yeah. So we get the reveal of our main villain, as I mentioned, Dr. Octavius, and being human, but something's off about the Doctor, because able to walk on walls and, walk upside down. Well, and if you couldn't figure it out already, because Dr. Octavius is an octopus, and his real name, and when he reveals his name to the penguins, a name that, according to Dr. Octavius, like, a name that they thought that they would never hear again. It's getting, like, very intense and such, and when he reveals himself as a purple octopus and his actual name, Dave, they're puzzled. Like, they don't know who Dave is. They never knew him. And Dave was hoping that they would, but yeah. And Dave, the octopus, Dave/Dr. Octavius, and in his human disguise as Dr. Octavius, Dave the octopus, being voiced by good old John Malkovich. Yeah. And who doesn't love John Malkovich? Because I think he's about good in anything, and I think he was good in this. The villain voice role that he played in the Penguins of Madagascar. Yeah, and Dave being a very interesting villain, and how, well, knowing octopuses, they can camouflage and they can disguise themselves, and how Dave has the ability to turn himself into human and walk like a human and just. Yeah, so very impressive for that octopus. So, with the penguins, again, not knowing who Dave is, well, Dave giving them and us audience a backstory. Dave used to reside in the Central Park Zoo, and he was there, and while he was there, he was getting a lot of love and attention from the zoo park guests, but when the penguins stepped in, that's when he lost all the attention and love, and then Dave being transported to different zoos around the world, and every time when he would go to a new zoo, penguins would be there, and they would get the attention and love, and he wouldn't. And ultimately, because, what would happen to him is, well, seeking and plotting revenge on the penguins. Yeah. And even Dave managed to collect snow globes, and basically snow globes from every zoo that he had been to. And that is until Rico gobbled all of them. But I mean, he was hungry. Bear with Rico. It's not like he was doing it intentional. And Dave, his plot and revenge on the penguins, and he's going to use something evil, showing them this serum. And we find out the name of this serum a little later, because, well, at one point, the penguins do steal the serum, and they make their way and escape the submarine, and Dave has his octopus, troops go after them. So a chase sequence proceeds through a little bit of Venice, and in my opinion, I don't know. I think this was another pretty good like chase sequence in Venice since Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. I'm just saying. I need to look at some other movies with any chase sequences in Venice, but I'm just saying those are the only two. This and The Last Crusade are the two that come to my mind. You know, chase sequences in the rivers of Venice. So yeah, but I think this was pretty good and very creative and funny with what goes on with the penguins, like them hijacking one of those Venice boats, and a guy playing guitar, you know, plays like action, thrilling music while the chase happens, and Dave's octopus troops also hijacking a boat and taking control of the guy who's rowing it. But just so happens that, well, we see a wolf popping its head. You know, what is this wolf? And, you know, someone's, you know, watching the penguins and especially, you know, going against, Dave. Not just the penguins now, but someone else going against Dave. And ultimately, when the chase ends, and just so much funny things happened, even when at one point, Skipper gets blind by octopus ink, you know, oil from one of the octopuses. You know, the chase ending, and they're cornered. However, out of nowhere, these Arctic animals pop out, and they easily take care of Dave's octopus troops. And, yeah. And they are greeted, the penguins are greeted by this force, which being called the North Wind. And the North Wind members, well, there's Classified, and literally that's his name. Like, again, we never learn his actual name. And Skipper, throughout the film, calling him Classified, even though that's not his actual name. Agent Classified. I do wonder if his name was actually revealed. I'm curious, but, I mean, and if you guys know, feel free to, you know, let me know in the comments section. If possibly, but anyways. So, Agent Classified being voiced by good old Benedict Cumberbatch. Yeah. Nice to see that he was in a DreamWorks animated film, and in this case, this. And fun fact, Cumberbatch at first, and I think still, having trouble correctly saying the name penguin. It's like, you know, he even talked about this a lot on the Graham Norton show, you know, and how he says the word / name penguin, like penguin. Poor Benedict. Well, because how he says it, you know, how he properly says it, his character properly saying it in the movie, he did a good job. Yeah, the best he could. But yeah, for me, I have no problem, you know, saying it. Penguin. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. So again, Agent Classified, who was a wolf or husky, either one. And if you guys know, let me know in the comment section, or I might put a text. You know, we'll see. And while I'm editing this, but anyways, so yeah, again, Agent Classified. There's also Short Fuss, yeah, who's a sea lion, I'm pretty sure, a seal. He looks like one, yeah, I'm pretty sure. Being voiced by Ken Jeong, if I'm saying his last name right, yeah, comedian Ken Jeong, and Eva, a snow owl, being voiced by Anat Mahendru, if I'm getting her last name right. And by the way, Kowalski has a crush and falls in love with Eva. So, and finally, there's the polar bear, Corporal, being voiced by Peter Stormare. I think I said that right. And Corporal being a very nice and lovable polar bear, especially he adores the penguins. So that's nice to see. And Classified, again, that being his name and how he's credited, trying to explain to Skipper about what the North Wind is like, and how it's in the trailer, and yeah, in the movie, of course, Skipper asking Rico to dipple him, you know, that cheesy snack, and just munching on it so hard and not letting Classified finish his sentence. God. And well, because now that the penguins are in this mess too, because, well, the North Wind establishing to the penguins that they are after Dave and what he's up to. And like I said, Kowalski falling in love with Eva, and Skipper, when he introduces the three penguins, and when he starts with Kowalski, because Skipper's commenting saying he's learning a whole new level, however he says it. That's funny. Oh, he is, because now falling in love with Eva. So yeah, but yeah, so at one point, and to speed things up, because the North Wind. They bringing the penguins along with them, making their way to the Northwind headquarters, and the information that the Northwind gets from the penguins on Dave and such, and them letting the Northwind know that Dave is an octopus, that Dr. Octavius is an octopus, because the Northwind. They are aware of what Dr. Octavius is doing, having this serum. And, Skipper showing them that they have the serum. They managed to get it that easily, and, they're shocked by this. But that is until their system is hacked by Dave. He gives them a call, and... This was funny. Dave, his mic is muted, and they're trying to let him know that his mic is muted, they can't hear him, and Dave putting on his glasses because he's not used to this technology. I get the joke, and it's quite funny, so yeah. And basically, Dave giving them more information, and, the serum that the penguins stole, that was not it. He's got a big jar container of serum, and the serum is referred to as the Medusa serum. Medusa serum, what does this do? We don't know at first. Is this deadly or something? That's what they presume at first. Maybe it is deadly, and it could kill a victim or something. That's what we think at first, and with the characters, the penguins and the North Wind. And so, yeah, Dave, again, giving them information on the, Medusa serum and such, and, yeah, and even when Dave tries to end the call and getting help from a couple of his octopus troops, it's funny. By the way, I'll go ahead and mention this. At times in this movie, Octavius and the names that he calls out of his octopus troops, a bunch of, I guess, is the word pun right? Celebrity puns or something? References to celebrity names, and how he calls them, Nicholas Cage them, Drew Barry more power, Kevin Bake them. And if you've seen the movie, and with those references, And I think it's funny. Why not? And if you guys find it funny as well. But anyways, so the penguins, they're ready and gearing up to help and work alongside with the North Wind. But the North Wind, especially classified, not having any of it. And what happens is they tranquilize them, and they have them be shipped off to Madagascar, of course. So when they wake up, and, they're in a cargo plane, and what really got them awake is when Private let out a fart. That's funny. And then poking through the box, breathing for some air. And so they can see that, because they've been tranquilized, and, they're going to stop at nothing to take on Dr. Octavius / Dave. So them escaping the cargo plane and going from one plane to the next, pretty funny. And how even, one plane, the first plane that they land on, it's making its way to Paris, because of a croissant. And the passengers freaked out by the penguins. Why? They're just penguins. And when Private is offering them pretzels, and ultimately, because, them getting control of the plane a little. And, by the way, because there's one moment where Skipper flirts with a hula bobblehead, those. And thus, they go to another plane, and ultimately, they descend down on a desert, and, where are they going to next, and how will they know where to locate Dave? They happen to go underground. They just happened to go underground, and there was, a sewer system, and ultimately, where they end up next and where they think Dave might be, according to Kowalski, Dublin, Ireland, but it's Shanghai. They think it's Dublin, Ireland, and them trying to locate Dave, and one moment where Skipper thinks that, yeah, he has found Dave, and starts slapping Dave, and Kowalski informing him that it's a tiny baby squid. That poor baby squid. And then they happen to see on a TV on the news that, well, penguins are being captured by whomever it is. But, we know, of course, and they know, and so does the North Wind, it's Dr. Octavius / Dave. And because there was one moment where we saw, and, well, because, before I get to that, because, with them still being in Shanghai, they mail and ship themselves to Shanghai, because again, they think they made their way to Dublin, Ireland, and when they are being shipped and they're in a box, well, the mail truck made its way back to the exact same spot where, very funny. Oh god, the penguins, you just gotta love them, yeah. But yeah, so, and they discover that in Shanghai, because, okay, yeah, now they see that they are in Shanghai, even though they didn't at first. They thought it was Dublin, Ireland. They happened to notice an advertisement for mermaid penguins. Penguins dressed as mermaids at an aquarium in Shanghai. But, yeah, because with Dr. Octavius capturing not octopuses, penguins, at one point, because we see that Octavius / Dave captures some penguins in Rio, and Octavius and his octopus troops leave, and, well, the North Wind didn't make it in time, and they find out, and they get a indication, in the computer of their jet that, the penguins are not where they're supposed to be. And apparently, because not only did they tranquilize the penguins, they put tracking devices on them, tracking beacons, so they know where the penguins are at now. They're not at Madagascar, where they were supposed to go. So, yeah, so they're now at Shanghai, and then making their way into the aquarium and trying to, stop and defeat Dave. And, well, Skipper has, at one point, he has Private dress up as a mermaid, and Private telling Skipper that he's ready to do what they do and to show that he can do this. But Skipper, not intentionally, because with what he tells Private and, that he has to use his cuteness and such, just overall, Private is doing the action and such, because there's gotta be, there would always be some, agent member or someone that would cause distraction and so on, and Private having the ability to do that. Yeah. And with his cuteness, and however, later on in the film, with how he uses his cuteness being a very important part and the key to stopping all on what Dave is doing. So yeah, Private, distracting the guests of the aquarium while, Octavius / Dave in a, scuba diving suit, making his way to where the penguins dressed as mermaids are, but yeah, with Private distracting them and the penguins trying to take down Dave while the North Wind is making their way, and just so much happens, because at one point causing a tank with leopard seals to break, and the water splashing and making its way to Dave, and just, yeah. And when ultimately, one of the penguins sliced, wires and cables to, a skeleton, on the, that was being hung up, and, landing on top of Dave, and, well, it seems like they've captured Dave and he's being held hostage. And when the North Wind shows up, well, because, them just being shocked by what the penguins have done, and, well, should have seen this coming, because Octavius / Dave easily gets out of there, well, because getting out of the scuba suit and going down a drain. And Private, well, he was thrown in the tank, and, well, the water in the tank where the penguins, dressed as mermaids, are, it starts to flush out, being drained, and Private, unfortunately, being taken down as well. And, well, the Penguins dressed as mermaids, along with Private, being captured by Dave. So now Private is now in the hands of Dave. He's been captured by Dave, and even when Skipper, Kowalski, and Rico try to chase after and save Private, now he's their priority to go after. And even at one point, they steal the Northwind's jet, and they really don't know how to fly it correctly. And they just basically, like, fly it upside down. And again, just so much happens, and with another chase sequence. And ultimately, the Penguins, they did not reach to Private, and thus the jet. And even when the Northwind was, they used a grappling hook and so on to, get to the jet, well, yeah, ultimately the jet crashes. And we see that the aftermath, poor Skipper, Kowalski, and Rico, it's like, they're now out in the ocean with no food and no water for a few days, according to Skipper's log. But there's a rope tied to what they're sitting in, out in the water, because the Northwind, they're in this nice, like, inflatable, float that they're in, having a nice fancy dinner, while the Penguins are just left out and starving. But that is until when Classified informs them that, yeah, he had put tracking beacons on them, and, well, Private's tracking beacon leads them to this uncharted island. I'm pretty sure, yeah, an uncharted island. And, well, that's where they find and locate the submarine and where Dr. Octavius/Dave is hiding. And thus, the Penguins, along with the Northwind, trying to make plans and how to get to Private and save the other Penguins. Well, because it leads to the Penguins and the Northwind members having a plan-off, as was suggested by Eva. And even with Kowalski, still googly eyes towards Eva, because right before she was about to say plan-off, he thought that she was going to say, kissing, but no. So the Penguins start with their plan, how Skipper comes up with the plan to get to Private and the other Penguins using sand and such. And Classified just clapping and how thrilled he is by what, their plan is. And thus it's now their turn with the plan that they have, and with the technology they have, and which locations of the submarine that they will go to. Yeah, ultimately, Skipper gives in, and he realizes that, what, they ought to go with the Northwind's plan, much better than his. And Kowalski and Rico just, they're just like, surprised that, why is Skipper doing this? And, it's nice that we see that Skipper, he really realizes something and, being serious on this. And, telling Rico and Kowalski that, he's not the Skipper that they deserve, how he says it to them. And, they should really follow the Northwind's lead. And they do so. And what they do is, and, well, they're the bait. They distract some of Dave's octopus henchmen/troops by doing some polka and having them follow them and such, while the Northwind make their way into the submarine, and, well, they have Dave at gunpoint. But ultimately, it didn't work, surprisingly, for the Northwind. They are captured by Dave's octopus troops. And also, we see that a little early on, Dave, discovers that Private was captured as well. And, well, basically, with this ray gun of Dave's, with the Medusa serum, it's first tested on this cricket, because early on, and for the first time when the Penguins met Dave and telling them that, Dave, and they didn't know who Dave was, there was a cricket that chirped. And the cricket, having a voice and kind of having a small part in this movie, because, yeah, the cricket being voiced by Sean Charmads, if I'm saying the last name right. The cricket is tested on by the Medusa serum. And what happens is, well, when it was thought at first that the Medusa serum could be deadly and, could, kill its victims, no. What the Medusa serum does, and by testing it on the cricket, it turns the cricket into a monster. Yeah, so that's all it does. So nothing too bad, but it still is bad because being turned into a monster. So yeah. Oh yeah, and by the way, because the documentary filmmaker that started off the movie with some narration, that was, oh yeah, because I didn't realize, yeah, he was voiced by Werner Herzog, if I'm getting his full name right. We all know who he is, and we love him, so yeah. I'm sure you would know him too. Like, well, as of now, most notably, The Mandalorian. So yeah. Anyways, so yeah, with the Medusa serum being tested on the cricket, well, again, the North Wind, unfortunately, their plan didn't go so well, and you know what? Maybe they should have gone with the Penguins, but how are they supposed to know? And all that time, especially classified, giving the Penguins a hard time and doubting them. Jeez. Well, they learned their lesson and they realized that, you know what? The Penguins are something. Even though they sometimes kind of get into clumsy situations and what happens in this movie, still, the Penguins know what they do and they're very serious, especially with what goes on and what Dave is going to do and how, how much Private means to them and how much they love Private and determined to save him. So, yeah. And coming back to Skipper, Kowalski, and Rico, because, well, they managed to, lure some of Dave's octopus troops out of there, and, well, them, by this point, they think that the North Wind is getting out by now, and they have saved the Penguins, and most notably Private, and thus, they shoot off fireworks in celebration of Private being saved, and, yeah, but there's no sign of the North Wind. And then, ultimately, and to speed things up still, because, well, the Penguins, they're captured by Dave's octopus troops. Yeah. So now, and in the submarine, because, well, a moment where, yeah, the Penguins in their cage, and they see that the North Wind has been captured too, and another funny but sweet moment where Kowalski, Eva, and Eva looking at Kowalski, and Kowalski saying, I know. Yeah. But anyways, and well, because, they technically reunite with Private, and they see that Private is, strapped to a chair, and, well, the Medusa serum is about to be used on him, and the three Penguins, well, they have no idea what the Medusa serum is going to do. Well, Dave, obviously, informing them that what the Medusa serum will do to Private is turning him into a monster. So, yeah. So the ray gun is about to be shot on Private, and, well, Private, remembering that he still has that paperclip that he swallowed, he tries to hack it up, but ultimately, when the ray gun with the Medusa serum fires on Private, well, we see that there is no Private in sight, and it seems like maybe it did vaporize him. And Skipper, Kowalski, and Rico think that he has died. And Dave thinks so too. He thinks that Private was vaporized. And, well, according to Dave, this is why they should do some testing and until they've got it working properly, how it's supposed to work with the Medusa serum. And golly, because Dave being cold-hearted, he doesn't care that, if by any chance Private was vaporized completely. But little do they know that Private did survive, and obviously he would. Of course, there's no way that he would die. He managed to get the paper clip out of his mouth and, sliced off the strap, and yeah. And, well, Private, he goes to help, obviously helping his three Penguins, but he comes across the North Wind, and he helps the North Wind get out of there and, in their cages. And they're impressed. They're impressed by what Private did. And Private and the North Wind making their way through the submarine. But ultimately, the North Wind, they're making their way back to headquarters. And Private just, stunned by this. Like, they're not going to join him and help the Penguins and all the other Penguins? But according to Classified, they're just going to go back to, get some, more equipment and such, since they've lost that first equipment when they were captured. And Private just setting them straight on what type of agents they are and just so on, and what Private says to them about his, fellow Penguins, Skipper, Kowalski, and Rico. And yeah, he sets them straight very, very well, especially on Classified. And thus, Private goes off on his own, while the North Wind, they make their way back to headquarters. And Classified, his comment in response to what Private told them, because, not the Penguins, that, something about Penguins, and Private, setting Classified straight, maybe you're not the Penguins, what they said, Anyways, so Private making his way, and he can see that, well, Skipper, Kowalski, and Rico, and along with all the other Penguins, in a room, and he's trying to get their attention, knocking on the glass, but unbeknownst to Skipper, Rico, and Kowalski, well, and Skipper holding a simple feather from Private, and thinking that Private has died, and Skipper thinks that he's hearing the voice of Private, his ghost or something, and they can't really understand what Private is saying, like, why is he mooing, according to Kowalski. And then, ultimately, the Medusa serum in the ray gun being used upon the Penguins, along with Skipper, Kowalski, and Private, and yeah, ultimately, they get shot by the Medusa serum, and with what happens to them next. And yeah, because that's when Dave / Dr. Octavius, his disguise look, identity in human form, pretending to be a human, basically, the word is spread, and the, news that Dr. Octavius has managed to locate and find and rescue all of the missing penguins from all of the zoos. And Octavius / Dave, along with his fellow octopuses, and in the submarine, they make their destination to Manhattan. That's the first place they're going, and to unleash chaos with, the penguins and how they look because of the Medusa serum being turned into monsters. And, well, Dave's plan and for the Medusa serum, and with it being used on the penguins, because, the people are not going to see the penguins being so cute and happy looking. No, the total opposite, because when Octavius, unleashes the penguins, everybody can see that, well, they're not cute and adorable as they expected. They're all green and just with, different things on their bodies, like like when we see Skipper, Rico, and Kowalski, well, Rico has wings, I guess like dragon wings or something, not as flippers. Skipper, Rico having like dragon-like wings. Skipper having like a lobster claw, and Kowalski having broccoli hair. Jeez. And Octavius telling the monster penguins to give them a hug, and thus making their way to the humans, giving them a hug, but, well, the humans vanish, because terrified beyond belief by what they're seeing. But luckily, Private is the only penguin left, and it's up to him now to defeat and take on Octavius, and to help his fellow penguins, and to, save the day, basically. It's all up to Private. And to speed things up, because, well, Private, at one point, he encounters 3 of Dave's octopus troops, and distracting them and having them chase him, and ultimately, Private gets in the vehicle with the ray gun that contains the Medusa serum, and basically drives it out of the submarine, and, trying to save the day. And even when he comes face to face with Skipper, Rico, and Kowalski, and telling them, and just, informing that it's him, like, remember me, and and they start to remember who he is, and they snap back to their ordinary selves. But despite the fact they look hideous. And it was funny because, Skipper having a vision of baby Private, and when Private turns to Kowalski, mentioning Eva, that's what gets Kowalski to snap out of it. And Rico, well, he hasn't changed. He's still the same Rico, so yeah. So yeah, them trying to stop Octavius, and even when the North Wind shows up, well, at one point, because they get sucked by one of those exterminating vehicles, because yeah, the exterminator trucks show up, / vehicles, you know, sucking up the penguins, and because at one point the North Wind, when they came back, and because it was nice classified giving Private a thumbs up. And I'm pretty sure because, obviously, the North Wind took what Private said and they realized that, geez, we were total, you know, pardon my French, but it's true, we were total douches on the penguins, especially classified. So yeah, them trying to help the penguins, and ultimately, because, well, with using the Medusa serum and what they do, because Private discovering that he has to use his cuteness to transform his fellow penguins back to their normal, ordinary selves because of his cuteness and such. And I think, yeah, the Medusa serum turns purple, and yeah, it's the same ray gun and vehicle. And Private in the machine, and, you know, a suction plug, you know, on his head, and, you know, when it fires upon the penguins, and with his cuteness, well, it works. It turns the penguins back into their normal, cute selves, and there's one funny moment where Private, you know, on the back of his tail, because there was at one point where, you know, when he almost got vaporized, almost shot by the Medusa serum, well, the only thing that happened to him was his butt and his tail, like, no feathers, no black feathers, a naked tail / butt. So on the back of his tail / butt, growing a hand. It's because of the ray gun, and with the Medusa serum and what Private has done to it, basically. And yeah, so again, Private using his cuteness to transform all the penguins back to their normal selves, and even when Dave, determined to stop Private, and well, the climax is happening, it's getting intense, and when Skipper, having Rico cheese him, you know, the cheesy dipples, and well, basically firing one piece of cheesy dipple on the remote, because they had their hands on the remote where, yeah, to end everything, and with, you know, Private using his cuteness and such, and, well, yeah, and to speed things up still, because firing that one piece of cheesy dipple on the red button on the remote, and, well, it ends the madness, and Dave is defeated, and even when Private used the hand on his back, you know, and on his tail / butt, punching Dave, and, you know, thus Dave is defeated, and he got in the way of the ray gun, and, well, something happens to Dave, obviously. And, well, ultimately, because all of the penguins, including Skipper, Rico, and Kowalski, they're back to their ordinary selves, but that is except for Private, because apparently he then started to get inside of this egg or something, and they're worried and concerned for Private, you know, what's happened to him. But it starts to hatch, and we see that Private, he's turned into a monster technically, but not really ugly looking. He's purple, and he's got antlers. And then, well, Dave, and when everybody is hearing some giant footsteps, some rumbling, well, what did the ray gun exactly do to Dave? Well, it seems like, and what we're seeing, he turned into a giant octopus taller than the New York City Manhattan buildings. No, actually, he grew very small and is in a snow globe. Yeah, and by the way, the snow globes, because yeah, as was mentioned early on, Rico had swallowed up all the snow globes that Dave had. Well, that's because the snow globes that Dave had, going to every single zoo that he had been to, and, well, capturing the penguins. See? Yeah. Yeah, so Dave now in a snow globe, and one little girl fascinated by the snow globe, and with Dave in it, Skipper giving the snow globe to the little girl, and the little girl saying "cool," and Dave, he's surprised, he's happy to hear this, but ultimately, because the little girl shaking it, I guess like she doesn't really care the fact that there's a little tiny octopus in the snow globe. Yeah, but oh well, serves Dave right. And yeah, that's his ultimate defeat, in a funny way, of course. I like that sometimes in animated films and what happens to certain villains. And in this case, what happens to poor Dave. But yeah, he got what he deserved. Also, to mention some of the other cast members, I didn't really know this, because some of the Antarctic penguins, they were voiced by Susan Fitzer, if I'm saying that right. Chris Sanders voices one of them. I think I would know if I would recognize his voice, but I didn't. I'll have to go back and listen very carefully. Emily Norwind, again, the voices of the Arctic penguins. Yeah, Susan Fitzer, Chris Sanders, Emily Norwind, Mike Mitchell, another big name in DreamWorks. Hope Levy, she voiced one of the Antarctic penguins. But also she voiced Woman at Aquarium. That's how she's credited and with the character. And Walt Dorn also voiced an Antarctic penguin. And Walt Dorn being another big part of DreamWorks, head of story. And also, we would know him best as the voice of Rumpelstiltskin. Yeah. Oh yeah, and I know him. Yeah, Jim Parer. He voiced character Gondolier, if I'm even saying that right, and some of the other cast members. Jeff Fisher, I know Jeff Fisher, because, well, we would know Jeff Fisher best as the voice of Jeff Fisher in American Dad. He voiced a security system voice. Elizabeth Pan voiced a Shanghai TV reporter. Yeah, and a bunch of others. Yeah, just to name off some of the other voice cast members, as I sometimes do, and even if I don't get through all of them, but anyways. So yeah. So in the end, Dave has been defeated. The penguins are back to their ordinary selves. Kowalski finally got the girl when Eva finally said that she and Kowalski should kiss, and covering with one of her wings, and she kissed Kowalski all over. And, well, everything's good now between the North Wind and the penguins, especially Classified. He and the North Wind members were wrong on how they treated and how they felt towards the penguins, and they can see now, finally, what the penguins are like, and that they've got it. And Classified offering the penguins anything. And, well, they ultimately ask for some jetpacks and where they can finally fly. And the last scene of the movie where we see them in their jetpacks flying through New York, they spin around the Statue of Liberty, and, well, obviously, they're going to make their way back to the circus and with the Madagascar gang. So, yeah. And there is an end credit scene, like mid-credit scene, I should say. Well, because Private asked Skipper if, they can turn him back to his normal penguin cute self. And Skipper told Private that they can do it by Monday, but total opposite. On Thursday, not Monday, Thursday, that's when they do it. And we get a quick cameo of Mort, once again being voiced by Andy Richter, and King Julian, in this, being voiced by Danny Jacobs, whom also voiced King Julian in the Penguins of Madagascar show. It would have been nice if it would have been Sacha Baron Cohen, but I assume he wasn't available, and just for that one quick scene, and with Mort and Julian making a cameo, and yeah, Mort being used, just like Private, his cuteness and such, to turn Private back to his normal, cute penguin self, while King Julian is wanting to press the red button, because knowing King Julian, how stupid he is sometimes. No offense to him, but just, yeah, and how curious he is. So him attempting to try to press the red button, but Kowalski, telling him not to, and just, yeah. And ultimately, King Julian does press the red button, and it seems like it kind of goes bad at first, but ultimately, no, Private is back to his ordinary self. And as for Mort, well, King Julian kind of being a bit disappointed because of this, but something like he mentioned something about pizza, and then Mort, something did happen to Mort, and thus like he swallows King Julian up, and apparently King Julian is okay with this and smelling pizza, and what a funny way for that to be the last scene of the movie. God. Yeah, again, just a funny cameo appearance from Mort and King Julian. At least, nice that we did get to see a couple other Madagascar characters, aside from Alex, Marty, Gloria, and Melman making a cameo, just seeing their shadows, but actually physically seeing, say, Mort and King Julian. So, yeah, but just overall, that was a funny way to end it off right there with that last scene during the credits. Yeah, definitely. The Penguins of Madagascar, the movie. Yeah, I think it's a really good, fun, cute, whimsical DreamWorks animated spin-off movie, and coming from the world of Madagascar, and how we finally have a movie centering on the Penguins of Madagascar. The story to the Penguins of Madagascar movie is pretty good, and with the characters and new faces that we see, and the film's main antagonist, the music and score, the animation, the funny and sometimes emotional moments, and, some serious stuff that happens. Yeah. And, with the climax and, the battle between the Penguins, the North Wind against Dr. Octavius / Dave, and yeah, just overall, the Penguins of Madagascar movie is a delightful DreamWorks animated film. It may not be really the best, but it's not bad at all. It's enjoyable, definitely. And I'm giving the Penguins of Madagascar movie, and because how much I've enjoyed this, and yeah, with, all the positive things I've had to say, yeah, I'm giving it, 8 out of 10 stars. Yes, 8 out of 10 stars for the Penguins of Madagascar movie. And what about you guys? What did you think of the Penguins of Madagascar movie itself? Did you enjoy this? And any of you like me, growing up with the Penguins of Madagascar show, and if you two had felt the same way as anybody, because, we have the show, well, where's their movie? And when we finally did get a movie centering on our favorite, beloved penguins, which were some of your favorite moments from the movie, and with the new characters that step in from the North Wind, the main villain, Dr. Octavius / Dave, yeah, just overall, what do you think of the Penguins of Madagascar movie itself? And with what I've had to say, my review, and yeah, what did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. And so, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of the Penguins of Madagascar movie. More review videos are coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I'll see you guys in the next video / review. Take care, happy anniversary to the Penguins of Madagascar movie, and peace out.